Everybody, good Monday morning. Welcome into Morning Invest. I'm Clayton Morris.
I'm Natalie Morris.
And producer David is in the booth running the show.
Good
morning to you. Grover is here. Grover's here chilling out. Is Pizza there as well?
Yep, she is here eating her Kong.
No, good. Well, Pizza's in for a big show then, because we're going to be talking about these new Omicron lockdowns. We had some breaking news just a few minutes ago from the UK. Boris Johnson saying it's going to be quite a crap show if you live in the UK. What else are we talking about?
Yeah, we're going to run down the Congressional Budget Office numbers on the stimulus and politicians' effect to pretend or efforts to pretend that their bills are good for us. And what we should take away from that.
Yeah, so a big stimulus battle today. And, are they going to get this thing done before Christmas, or is it not going to get done at all? That's the real question this morning. Will this thing languish in the Senate? Yeah. And we were going to talk about Jazlane Maxwell, this bombshell reveal about what she thinks about what happened to Jeffrey Epstein. We'll talk about that, plus the defense strategy as they plan to unleash like 35 different witnesses, all in an effort to discredit the accusers. Like, that's always a good plan. Like, just go after the accusers and just discredit all of these poor girls who are 14 at the time.
That's the way.
That's the way it goes, I guess. It's meant to deter people from coming forward because it will be so personal.
It's basically the same thing they're doing to people who don't want to get vaccinated. Making
what do you
it so
mean?
that they're afraid to even come forward and say it because people attack you like you're some kind of evil.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, for this kind of thing, though, it's like, this is slut shaming. This is...
Yeah, but I mean, it's the same kind of thinking. It's the same kind of, like, they're putting a message forward to shame someone or something for a choice.
Yes, yeah. Clayton and I have continued to read this book, The War on Small Business, particularly on the government moves during the pandemic.
It's making us so angry, this book.
And, she makes the point about how people who have any hesitation to either lock down, close down something, not do something, that there's this sort of woke liberalism about if anyone says, wait, let me stop and think, is this against my rights? Is this the right thing to do? It's basically become this war against individual freedoms. And
unless it's abortion.
And it continues to expand the power of the government as anybody who says anything at all, questioning anything about, I have felt like I was in that camp many times when I see the way stories are covering, for instance, the woman in Texas who opened her hair salon against regulation. And I thought, come on, girl, just don't get hair done. That's not a big deal. It's not an essential service.
But when you start going deeper into the story,
because that's how the media spins it. Like, these are selfish people who insist on doing hair. They're incredibly vain. They're incredibly selfish. They're going to give everybody COVID, right? And then when you actually read about her efforts to protect people, her efforts to protect her stylists who were otherwise going to people's houses, and I felt really incredibly guile for taking those stories up. The government did take her property. I feel a little bit, I feel woke checked.
Woke checked?
Yeah.
Well, and I've said for a long time that I feel like it really is the mainstream media that does the biggest injustice to the American people, because we don't have anybody that we can trust investigating these things to find out if we are really getting legitimate information or not. And that's what the media's job is supposed to be.
Right.
To make sure we're an informed public.
Yeah. Well, we don't get that from the media, so we have to seek out books. I have to read a long book, and then I'm like, wow, I had that one wrong. The guy who wanted to open up his, deli or whatever. And then meanwhile, the government allows movie sets to have catering, but you can't have, right.
Yeah.
These kind of things. I don't know. So, we're going to attempt to read you the news. We're going to attempt to think about the news together. We're going to attempt to empower ourselves to not feel powerless and figure out what we can do. And
I think trying to get you these stories. Oh, that was an alert saying Morning Invest starting right now.
You know what
you don't know that already?
Is that
what's funny?
I get more real journalism and news off of RT, Russia Television, than any U.S. network. And I find that it's sad, first of all, you know, and second,
incredibly sad.
How YouTube says that they have to show underneath every RT video that is funded by the Russian government. So they have this disclaimer underneath every one of their videos, like it's a bad thing.
Well, yeah. Can we put that underneath CNN videos? Can we put that underneath?
Funded by
MS.
Raytheon.
Yeah, funded by military-industrial complex, funded by billionaires. Like, what? I love the hypocrisy of that. That's amazing.
Well, okay.
You're gonna tell me?
No. What I was going to tell you, you dear viewer, is that we have a morning newsletter, and you can get a tidbit of what's coming in the show if you are subscribed for free. It's morninginvest.com. And before we get into sort of the meat of the show, we can talk about a few things that are in the newsletter. For instance, well, this wasn't in the newsletter, but it's happening right now. The Turkish lira is taking a plummet, and it looks like that's the next economy to fall. And what else? Anything else?
Well, Evergrande. I mean, we had the official default from Evergrande in China, and of course, we mentioned that last week. But now we're sort of waiting for the other shoe to drop on that, and what's going to happen here. But the Chinese government will just prop it up, too big to fail. That's an Americanism that'll be carried around the world. Too big to fail, and really, really troubling. What else is in the newsletter?
Oh, here's what I wanted you to talk about. Julian Assange lost his fight against the UK government. The UK government had appealed. The US government had appealed its decision to not extradite Julian Assange, and the UK government says the appeal can go forward.
It's awful. I mean,
it is awful.
What an absolute punch in the nuts for journalism. Here's a guy who didn't break into a computer, didn't steal anything. He was given documents as part of.
Never had to retract a story.
Yeah, never. Exactly right. And by the way, we wouldn't know. I mean, we wouldn't know about what the Democrats did had those emails not leaked. Like, we wouldn't have known what they did against Bernie Sanders. We wouldn't have known the lengths that that the Democratic Party went to undermine third-party candidates, and specifically Bernie Sanders. Like, there's so much that we just wouldn't know if it wasn't for Julian Assange. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So this doesn't mean that he will be extradited. It's been a really long, drawn-out legal battle, and now the United States will go to court to appeal the denial of his extradition. He continues to say that the United States' interest in him is political, which is a nice way to put it.
Of course it is.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a nice way to say it. Hope everyone had Ann, we're going to be covering, Ann talks about Chris Wallace. We're going to be talking about that in the show today. It's interesting.
Yes, we will.
Did you hear the story that Julian Assange had a mini stroke in prison, like just recently under stress?
No.
No, I didn't see that.
He had a mild stroke.
I mean,
yeah, imagine that stress. You're waiting to be handed over to the U.S.
where you're not going to get any fair shake.
Yeah. It's really, really upsetting. I'm excited for later this week, Spider-Man.
Oh, it's Spider-Man week, guys.
Yeah, can't wait for that. Did you see, I think they released a final trailer, I guess. Saw some of that. I'm excited about that. And they released the new Book of Boba Fett trailer.
That trailer looks amazing.
Yeah, can't wait for that. Bunch of other nerdy things coming out. What else is nerdy that I missed?
The Matrix, the new Matrix trailer just dropped.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yes. Yeah, that comes out next week on the 22nd.
Ooh, we got to make a date for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, the 22nd is next week already?
Yeah.
It's next Wednesday.
Yeah, because today is the 13th, right? Today's the 13th, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
How come the months are just flying by so fast now?
I know. I was starting to look through my Dropbox and starting to think, ooh, I get to make 2022 folders. That's one of my favorite times of the year.
I can't wait to just start. I can't wait for this year to be over. We thought 2020 was going to be the year that we were happy was done. I think 2021 is just as bad.
Why do you feel that it was bad?
I just feel this year.
You made great strides at a lot of your goals this year.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I just mean for the world. I just feel we got the United States on the brink of collapse.
But don't you think that
We now have more COVID cases right now than we did at the height of the 2020 pandemic. It's more now.
So, I have a friend who has done some videos about the Saturn return for the United States. Or is it the Saturn return or like
astrological?
Astrological. If you mark an astrological calendar for the United States, this was always, and she was doing this years ago, this was always going to be a pivotal time. And I don't consider it all bad, because great change can come from when people understand that the government is not serving them. There is a possibility for change. The more people that are thinking this way, the more people will say like, well, I don't know. Yeah. I'm not going to lecture.
Brian Cody in our chat says 2021 was the what now year. Yeah. Can you believe it was in this calendar year of the riots on the Capitol?
Like, that's how we started the year,
Tammy Diaz says, I love this show. It's the bomb. Thank you so much. How many new folks do we have? Bomb diggity. How many new folks do we have watching the show today? If you're new here, but you just flipped it into members only chat, didn't you?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, well, we might have new members. If you're a new member.
If you're a new member, you can become a channel member by for like a price of a cup of coffee once a month. You can support our show here on YouTube. YouTube handles all the memberships. We don't handle any of the memberships. So once in a while, we'll get an email from someone that's like, hey, my credit card got declined and I need to set up a new credit card. How do I do it? It is a YouTube back-end thing. We don't handle any of that, YouTube memberships. If you just go to morninginvest.com/join, that's how you can become a channel member and support independent journalism and what we do here on the show. All right, we ready to start the show on Monday?
Just a bit. Okay, so I'm just going to tell you that, so my mother was visiting for several weeks, and she had an early flight and left at about 4 this morning, and I have not slept. I did not sleep well at all. And so this morning we went to an appointment, Clayton and I together, and I wrote down my phone number for the person helping me. And Clayton's like, whose phone number is that? Like, I wrote my own phone number wrong. I just completely it was like word salad.
So just have some sympathy for this sleepy.
Yeah, I'm a little sleepy today.
Sleepy Natalie.
Things are not coming out of my mouth the way they're happening in my brain. And you're going to wonder, that girl is in communications. I'm going to do my best. I don't know what's going to fly out of here today, so I just beg your pardon in advance.
I saw a TikTok yesterday that I thought was kind of funny, because this girl was like, hey, did you know that there's mercury in Gatorade? And she's like, do you mean the moon is in retrograde? Like, so I thought that was kind of funny, but is that why? Is that your excuse? Is there something going on with retrograde?
It's just I literally have not slept very well, and
yeah, I mean, her mom and her husband were here for 6 weeks, and it was amazing. The kids got to spend so much time with them, and we got to spend so much time together. And Glenn and I were watching so much good, soccer together and fishing, and it was a lot of fun. And then they leave, and all the kids are apoplectic and crying. And why does Grandma have to go?
It was a tough one.
But
it's always tough when Grandma has to leave, because does she spoil him? Like,
oh,
you know what I mean?
Totally.
God,
yeah.
She set up. Let me just say this before we start the show. She set up. Natalie and I went out for with friends the other night, and Grandma set up a banana split station. Before we left.
Oh my!
Like bananas and chocolate chips and like fresh ice cream, great. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Yeah, the kids are spoiled. 100%.
Yeah, well, that I would love a banana split station. So.
Yeah. Set one up in your house. Just have like a room devoted to banana splits. That was one of my dad's favorite things, banana splits. All right. Let's get the show started on this Monday, shall we? Welcome into Morning Invest on this Monday, December 13th. I'm Clayton Morris.
I'm Natalie Morris.
And coming up on the show, we're going to talk about a new round of lockdowns sweeping the globe, everywhere from India to London to Germany, Austria, and United States. New restrictions. We'll tell you about the Omicron fears that are sweeping the United States and the rest of the world.
And fuzzy math. The Democrats are defending the Build Back Better bill. The Republicans are saying the math doesn't add up. Does it? We're going to discuss that.
And also coming up in our news this morning, I'm going to tell you about an unbelievable UFO program that was snuck into the Defense Authorization Act as part of the defense budget. Yes, UFOs in the defense budget. We'll tell you about that and so much more on Morning Invest as we get uncomfortable telling you the news that you won't see in the mainstream media. Morning Invest starts right now. And good morning, everybody. Welcome into the show. We've got a jam-packed show for you to get to today, so let's not waste any time. And we're going to start the show today with our news wrap-up, a new feature here on the show.
Oh, yes?
I haven't even discussed this with you.
You're saying things you have. So, okay, I'm listening.
You ready?
Yes.
Okay, you ready for a news wrap up? Because we've got so much news, I thought we've got to put a nice news roundup at the beginning of the show. So here is our news wrap up for the beginning of the show on this Monday morning. It is time for your news roundup to get you caught up on today's headlines. Let's start with these awful tornadoes across 5 states. Authorities now say dozens of people have been killed. Officials are struggling right now to even count bodies. They're finding bodies as we speak, as this show is starting this morning. Now that daylight is coming up across Kentucky and other states, they're trying to find bodies in the rubble. Some towns have been completely destroyed. Others saying 75% of their entire town is completely gone. There are also unbelievable stories where strangers are finding family mementos miles away, just picked up in these tornadoes and cast miles away. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear put things in stark terms, saying that anything that was in the path of this tornado was destroyed, and that when your cell phones don't work in these communities, how do you even begin to find people to know how many people are actually missing in the first place? He basically admitted that these numbers are going to get much, much worse as the daylight comes up. Here is Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear. Let's listen.
We got no audio.
The longest and deadliest tornado event in U.S. history. We know that one of these tornadoes was on the ground over 227 miles, and Jake, 200 were in Kentucky. I've got towns that are gone, that are just, gone. My dad's hometown, half of it isn't standing. It is hard to describe. I know people can see the visuals, but that goes on for 12 blocks or more in some of these places. And it's going to take us time. I mean, you think you'd go door to door to check on people and see if they're okay? There are no doors. The question is somebody in the rubble of thousands upon thousands of structures? I mean, it is devastating.
Tragic. And Beshear basically said, that Saturday, it's going to be a miracle. Like, it's going to be a miracle if anyone else is found alive among this wreckage at all. Just awful, awful. Well, Russia and Ukraine are getting closer to war as missiles and guns are pouring in to help Ukraine. Where do you think those weapons are coming from? Yes, the West. Meanwhile, the group of 7 economic powers told Russia on Sunday to de-escalate its military buildup near the Ukrainian border, warning that an invasion would have massive consequences and inflict severe economic pain on Moscow. Yeah, we'll see, right? Like they did last time. And did it do anything to them? Anyway, foreign ministers from the United States, Britain, and the rest of the G7, joined by the European Union's foreign affairs chief, issued a joint statement declaring themselves united in our condemnation of Russia's military buildup and aggressive rhetoric towards Ukraine. The G7 called on Russia to de-escalate, pursue diplomatic channels, and abide by its international commitments on transparency of military activities. And it also praised Ukraine for being having restraint right now. Okay, we'll keep our eye on that. And speaking of the military, a bombshell amendment was hidden inside of the defense authorization bill that passed unanimously last week. We didn't know about it until and Americans basically had no idea it was even in here, and it has to do about UFOs. It's because these things pass so quickly, Congress doesn't even bat an eyelash. $768 billion on war, Congress planned to pass in the blink of an eye. No one even knew it was in here. But buried inside of this defense authorization budget is an amendment by Kirsten Gillibrand of New York that funds the reverse engineering of UFOs if they are recovered by the United States. Specifically, it gives the U.S. military and the Department of Defense the responsibility to supervise development, and I'll even put up here the exact language from the bill, supervise development of a science plan to develop and test as practicable scientific theories to account for characteristics and performance of unidentified aerial phenomenon that exceed the known state of art in science of technology, including the areas of propulsion, aerodynamic control, signatures, structures, materials, sensors, countermeasures, weapons, electronics, and power generation. But
isn't a lot of alien technology like the crafts move with telepathically or something like that?
Well, we don't know. I mean, I guess they move with your mind. Like they're, like this was captured by the USS Nimitz, and of course in 2014, these UFOs that were captured, and you hear the pilots saying, "Oh my God, they've never seen anything move like with that." So now, why the rush to get this thing inside of the Pentagon? So that basically there's some people who believe that, look, they already have these craft. They need this money and authorization to start reverse engineering some of these things. The Pentagon is going to be the sole organization now responsible for reverse engineering of UFOs. And it wants the budget money right away. And it doesn't want any interference in bringing in any advanced super technology and taking it apart and replacing it. It gives the authorization to the military to immediately start this research without having to go through any elected officials or any other government offices. So in other words, let's give even more power to the military. But it's a remarkable acknowledgement inside this budget that the U.S. government believes it has UFOs in its possession, or it plans to have them in the possession in the near future. I mean, it's...
do you find it funny how they're finally embracing that narrative now that they want a space force?
Yeah, and and they're tying it to the military, right? Because it's about national security,
right?
Mm-hmm. So now they can expand the amount of money that they get to spend
instead of NASA that actually knows how to build otherworldly craft.
Exactly.
Right.
So we're going to give it to Boeing and Northrop Grumman and other things that, it's just right inside the defense bill now. Unbelievable. This next story is absolutely infuriating. To South Dakota now, where if you ever needed more evidence that the United States is on the verge of collapse, look at what happened in Sioux Falls on Saturday night. This is really a sign that capitalism is absolutely crumbling. Take a look. A hockey game. They had a brilliant idea of taking 5,000 $1 bills and dumping them into the ice and allowing teachers to scramble to put as many dollars as they could into their shirts before the timer ran out. It was called the Dash for Cash event, and it was an event to give as many $1 bills as possible to fund improvements in their schools. At least 10 teachers took part in this dystopian event held on Saturday at the Sioux Falls Stampede Junior Ice Hockey game.
At least they weren't also being chased by animals.
Or to have to take their clothes off.
I mean, isn't this unbelievable? Like, this is America. This is.
Yeah, that's very demoralizing.
Here, teachers, I just want to say, we just passed a $768 billion defense budget so that we can continue to bomb other countries indiscriminately. Teachers, though, here's what you have to do to fund your school and get school supplies. Humiliate yourselves in front of a packed audience by scrounging for dollars on the ground.
Dollar bills.
Dollar bills. Yeah, it's not like they're $100 bills. They're dollar bills.
So what are those actually worth? Like 60 cents? Like 40 cents?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, go with inflation. Right. Like Nancy says, who said in the chat, James says, shouldn't they just given the school $5,000? No. We need a spectacle of it. We need them to scrounge on their hands and knees and scrounge for dollar bills in order to humiliate them.
Well,
so
these
That's
people
the equivalent
volunteered.
of, like, here's a bunch of hungry kids. Let's just dump a pile of oatmeal in the middle of the floor and watch them eat it all.
Yeah. Just dive into this and see who can eat it.
I think that maybe the people who volunteered thought that it would be in good spirit. They didn't think that they would be so demoralized. I'm not blaming the
teachers at all. I think the teachers they're like, yeah, I'll take part in this fun event.
Maybe they thought that it would show how far they're willing to go for their students in their schools instead of how awful it is that they don't have basic markers.
Yeah, let me be clear. I'm not attacking the teachers at all. I'm saying how shameful it is that's what we've come to in this country. The teachers have to scrounge for dollar bills on the ground while the military gets an extra $20 billion that they didn't even ask for. We're just going to shove an extra 20.
I can think of some teachers, though, that I'd like to see do this.
You have schools where teachers have to buy their own supplies. I mean, that's
ridiculous.
Most
schools. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, most schools teachers are supplying some kind of supplemental material for sure.
Yeah, America. All right, let's ready for a deep dive now. Now we're going to go deeper into the stories that are beyond the headlines.
Well, I didn't know you were going to do that. I liked it.
There you go. You like that?
I like that too.
Yeah, I like that wrap up. I like that I didn't have to do it. I sat here like this.
And you got to learn something. Do you feel educated?
Something.
Yeah, there you go. All right, let's talk about Omicron and these new round of lockdowns that are sweeping the world right now. I mean, just look at a number of countries, right? India,
Germany, yes.
Israel.
That's right. And we're going to talk about later this event that went on in Israel this weekend while Omicron is smashing the emergency rooms around the globe. Now, doctors are still saying it's not necessarily about the variants in Omicron or the symptoms, but it's about the amount of people and the contagion rate. And again, when more people get sick, more people overload the emergency room, and that pushes down all kinds of services that are needed that doctors are not able to do otherwise. So, did lockdowns work the first time? I don't know. But when governments get overwhelmed, this seems to be the solution they're going towards. And now countries around the world are saying, hold on tight, because we may be ready to do this again.
And Dr. John Campbell, who we're a fan of here, I know, David, you're a fan of him as well. He's been a level-headed doctor, looking at all of this, how the countries are lying to you or not releasing data, and he deep dives the panic and ridiculous legislation and all sorts of things. But anyway,
and just to say, he does it in a very easy way to understand. Like, he even does illustrations and stuff. He's just, I've been following him since the beginning, and he's just like really, like, doesn't take a side, you know, and just really lays it out in an easy to digest way.
Yeah, he does a good job of this. So he's concerned about Omicron. He thinks that the overwhelm of hospitals is the thing to watch, and all eyes on South Africa. Listen.
In the United Kingdom, you're going to be exposed to Omicron in the next few weeks. If you're in the United States, you're going to be exposed to Omicron in the next few weeks, or certainly month or so. The whole world, we believe now, is going to be exposed to this. Now, thankfully, so far, it's only making a small minority of people ill. But if lots of people get it all at the same time, because it's so massively transmissible, a small proportion of a lot of people could still be a lot of people ending up needing to go to hospital all at the same time. And this is what we are worried about with Omicron. This is why we're watching South Africa so carefully.
Yeah, so South Africa, the major concern. But I mean, a bunch of other areas right now. We see India looking to go back into lockdown. Boris Johnson this morning came out with breaking news, declaring that every case, 40% of all cases now in London are of the Omicron variant. And will we see additional lockdowns there? But again, the larger question is about lockdowns. We come back to the book that we've both been reading, The War on Small Business, how the pandemic basically was a reshuffling of world order, destroying small businesses, destroying the little guy in favor of big businesses. And so what happened during the first lockdowns, if there really even wasn't a full lockdown in the United States, is that money just got shuffled right through Wall Street and big businesses, while small businesses were just crushed and people lost their livelihoods.
Yes, exactly right. And so now the question remains, will the United States repeat the same mistakes? She makes the point that when coronavirus really hit the United States in earnest in the fall of 2020, already there had been more than 100 days of this 15 days of lockdown promise, 15 days to curb the spread. But that never really happened. So the government just kept hold of that. And now we see that any talk of stimulus for any future or any current lockdowns, again, still has money for big business, far more than for small business. So we're going to talk about the merits of Build Back Better in just a second. But the problem is that the president continues to use the pandemic as a need for this particular piece of legislation, because the coronavirus, it's just not over, right? It's not over for us. And so it's incumbent on us now to think, well, what's really in there? What's really the consequence? Because we're conflating the two.
Right. How so? How?
Well, so we think that the pandemic, is it over or is it not? In some places, people act like it totally is, right? And they're allowed to just eat at restaurants without masks or go to the mall without a mask or what have you. And in some places, it's completely different. And because it's enough inside of arm's width, right, we can use it as an excuse to pass bloated legislation. And that's my concern, without actually doing the math on how that affects the average person. And my concern continues to be, and I know I say this every show, is that inflated government spending has a negative effect on the average person, because it widens the gap between the haves and the have-nots, because inflated government spending is sort of like the chocolate coating is, oh, you're getting child tax credit, you're getting stimulus, right? It's a teeny tiny bit for the average person, but it's a lot for government contracts, military, big business, and they get bigger and the average person gets smaller. Inflation continues to widen that gap. And so my concern is using the coronavirus for political agenda.
Right.
Yeah. Clayton, did you watch that thing that I showed you of how the Amish dealt with it,
Oh,
right?
yeah. We were talking about that this weekend. And, I grew up near Amish country near Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, my mom was saying she has a driver. Let me get her exact quote on this. But just give an overview of this Amish story, because the Amish population, first of all, they are totally skeptical of the U.S. government, right? They don't want to have anything to do with the U.S. government. They don't want to have anything to do with the U.S. healthcare system, which they think is a sham. And they don't want to have anything to do with the U.S. education system, which they think is a total sham. They just want to live independently and, take care of themselves. Coronavirus swept through that community, right?
Yeah, it swept through there, and they didn't social distance. They didn't wear masks. Anybody that got sick, they had people come over and be with them, because they feel like being social and being together is what gets you through things, like being with family or whatever.
Right.
And they have literally reached herd immunity by living that way. They accomplished what we were told we needed to accomplish by doing nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've been told different things, by different people. So what were you going to say? I'm sorry.
Well, like they had a church, in this piece, it was interesting talking about church, like they said, one of the Amish leaders said, look, we all drank out of the same glass, the same wine glass, as you take communion or whatever, they would go down the line, and everyone was drinking out of the same wine glass, and then everyone got COVID.
There's a lot of studies, though, that say babies in the NICU who are held and touched can heal faster than babies who are not. You have to think that those kind of studies extend throughout your life. So people who got COVID, who were isolated in plastic bubbles, and then died that way, how many of them might have done a little bit better with some actual human touch? This is the science behind Reiki. This is the science, right? So I think an important thing to remember at this point for all of us is that your immunity matters, because if you get COVID and you are a person who spends your time strengthening your own immunity, vaccinated or not, right? It matters how you will respond to any exposure to anything.
Put Zachary's comment up on the screen, if you would, Zachary Donnelly. He says, my ex-wife is Amish. Her family is all there and fully alive. No one died from COVID. Yeah.
I didn't know they could get divorced.
I don't know. My mom says, she said she has an ex-board member from her company who drives for the Amish. And it's true that they've thrived during COVID. He was looking for other drivers that he needed. He got COVID along with all the rest of that population as well. And they're all fine. Remarkable. So again, this is the concern, though. We head back into a lockdown, and then
my wife is ex-Amish. We read that wrong. It's not an ex-wife.
Zachary, not your ex-wife.
Current wife, ex-Amish. Okay.
Your ex? Yeah, you're not your ex.
Excuse us.
Your ex-wife. Okay. Oh boy.
That's like me getting my phone number wrong today.
Yeah.
We're just like,
it's Monday.
It's up and
down.
down.
Do you have a case of the Mondays? We all do. So anyway, more lockdowns coming. We'll see. We'll see. That's the major concern this morning. And I for one,
can I really quick say something? Also, there's not a major obesity problem with the Amish. You know what I mean? They're very active people, and so they're pretty healthy. They eat better than us. They don't put a lot of stuff and junk in their foods. They cook from home. They grow their own food. So they really do live a more healthy lifestyle, which I think is a major contributor to that.
100%.
Absolutely, because we're worried about people with pre-existing morbidities, comorbidities, right? And anything that you do to weaken your immune system contributes to that. So it matters if you take care of yourself right now. Your vaccination status, you discuss that with your doctor. But what you should also be doing is making sure that you are using whatever program makes you feel the strongest at this point.
Yeah. I know it's interesting we talk about ex-wife, but it's actually more interesting to me that she's ex-Amish. Like, she's not an ex-wife, she's an ex-Amish.
Yeah.
But currently his wife, like she I don't know if she was one of those that like they did the thing where they go out into the world for 6 months or something. Is that right? 3 months or 6 months or a year?
I have no idea
Roman
how to
Springer?
discommunicate from an
It's
Amish
like that,
community.
It's like that movie, that Bill Murray movie, right? Where they have
Groundhog
to
Day?
No, where he has like the bowl. He's like the other guy has the hook on his hand, and they bowl the bowling movie.
Yeah,
What?
that's
Bill Murray?
Woody Harrelson and
Woody Harrelson and
the
he's
guy
Amish.
cousin Eddie.
Oh,
Randy Quaid.
It's not
geez,
Bill Murray?
Randy Quaid.
No, it's Randy Quaid.
Oh,
Yeah.
Randy Quaid, right?
I think Bill Murray plays a professional golfer or bowler in it.
That's right.
Yeah, but
Does
he's not
anyone
one of the
know
Amish. Kingpin.
Kingpin? Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you guys in the chat. Thank you, Frederick. All right. So there you go. I'm just curious about how you say goodbye to the Amish community, and then maybe you go back.
Well,
to it.
so they have a point where, because I grew up in Amish. I mean, my first babysitter was Amish, so I lived with or stayed with Amish families quite often, and they have this point where before they join church, they can go out, they can get nice cars, like the girls dress in nice clothes and stuff, and then once they decide to join church, they join church, and those who decide they're going to leave, they get shunned from their family and don't get to be around their family anymore. So, yeah.
Interesting. So, just some breaking news on the Omicron out of London thing, because I saw, the question is like, has anyone died from Omicron? Well, Prime Minister Boris Johnson just moments ago says that at least one patient has died with Omicron in the UK. One patient. So again, one patient, do we lock down the whole country? But that's the question that Dr. Campbell's raising, is about the overrun of hospitals. If they're overrun, they have no room, they have no space, that's a huge concern.
Yes.
So, okay, what do you do then? Do you put people on lockdown again? I mean, you shut down businesses? I mean,
Right. And how do you then properly care for everybody else who's sick? Right. How do you prioritize those types of things? Yeah.
Well, we've got a lot more news to get to here on the show. We're going to talk about the stimulus in just a moment. A big battle brewing in the Senate over that, making headlines, and a whole lot of going on in the What's Trending section. But first, should we tell our friends about our show sponsor today, our friends over at MVMT Movement? Oh my gosh, these guys are fantastic. And you guys, I can't believe the holidays are almost here. I mean, it's the 13th already, for crying out loud.
Almost here. If you haven't bought now, you might not
have
get
a
in
chance.
time.
You
With
have a
them, you
chance right now. You have a chance right now, because you could be a big winner with a gift from MVMT Movement, MVMT. Go to movement.com/invest. That's movement.com/invest to join the movement and see all of their amazing watches. They're the original watch brand to break all of the rules. Started by two college dropouts who didn't want to overpay for a nice watch. They decided they were going to make the sleekest, most quality gifts of the season with hundreds of watches, blue light glasses, sunnies, fine jewelry, everything that you would want to fill your stocking with. And they do it at an affordable price. These watches are fantastic. David, I know you wear one when you go out on date night, right?
Yep, I do. The one on the far right. That's the one I have. The
Yeah,
Astro Blue.
I've got the Panthers black, but that Astros blue looks sharp. Look at that.
Yeah.
And really, really affordable. I mean, and you can build your own gift box right there. Shop by price. You can sort by price and whatever fits your budget. And then you can get the nice glasses, the blue light glasses. If you've got someone who spends a lot of time in front of a computer, it blocks the blue light from their screens. Really, really gorgeous stuff. And they're, because if you're dressing up, you want to wear something nice when you're going out. And Movement is making it easy, beautiful, curated gift boxes, his and hers gift boxes, and free and quick shipping right to your door just in time for the holidays. Movement watches are designed in-house, super sleek, clean, won't break your bank, since they start at just $95. Movement has clean, minimal designs, quality products. They've sold 2 million watches in over 160 countries. So again, go to movement.com/invest. That's movement.com/invest. That's MVMT.com/invest to join the movement. Our thanks to Movement for their support of Morning Invest.
Well, right before the weekend, the Congressional Budget Office, which is a bipartisan think tank that actually does the math on government spending and other social programs, has released its report about the Build Back Better law. Now, as a little refresher course, Build Back Better was supposed to be voted on over a month ago, but Democrats were promised that they would actually vote this bill through. Some fraction Democrats within the party said, yes, we'll vote for you, but we want to see the numbers on this one more time. So the Congressional Budget Office went back to the drawing board, took out their Texas Instruments one more time, and reran those numbers.
They still have his Texas Instruments.
Probably they don't.
And what did they find?
They found that Build Back Better would actually increase the deficit by $3 trillion over the years 2022 to 2031, assuming that any extension wouldn't be paid for, which is not included in the current bill. So Democrats have been saying that this investment, in fact, the president just said it last week when he addressed the inflation numbers, that, hey, when we pass this, inflation will get better because Build Back Better will pay for itself. The CBO says that's not true. Now, the CBO likes to always call themselves, we are the nonpartisan CBO, right? But they do say, this part struck me because in a letter to Senator Lindsey Graham, they said that the biggest difference between the two estimates of their money was from increasing the child tax credit. Which was interesting because it seems like there's so many different things inside of this bill that are expensive. Why they would specifically say that this one would be responsible for so much more money. I have to look into it more because that gave me pause.
There's also a lot of trouble with the way that the money is being distributed to the states. So a lot of the criticism, and rightly so, is that a lot of this money for the Build Back Better for climate-related technology, climate-related or carbon reduction legislation, et cetera, the money basically is just being handed out to the states, and the states are able to basically spend it however they want. Like there's no directive.
Yes.
So let me ask you, everyone watching, do you think that when these states get the billions of dollars in handouts from the federal government that they're going to start installing wind turbines and solar panels and electric vehicle charging stations and making retrofitting buildings to make sure they're environmentally friendly?
Well, we've seen what happens when the states take federal funding like this. The landlord assistance.
Oh, right.
Was supposed to go directly to landlords who had non-paying tenants during the pandemic so that they could in turn pay their mortgages, property taxes, and city tax bill. That's the same, and insurance, right? And the states have not funneled that money down. Why? They're just keeping it. They're holding on to it, right? As recently as last month, nearly 80% of landlords who had requested this money had still not received it. So when the federal government actually funnels money through the states, I don't know, it seems like a black hole.
Yeah, and so there's criticism right now from Lindsey Graham about Speaker Pelosi and the Democrats saying, look, they need to take this back. This whole thing that the House just passed is a sham. It was predicated on the idea that the CBO numbers, that this would pay for itself. So this thing needs to get out of the Senate. It needs to go back to the House. They need to rethink this whole thing. And then you can maybe pass it and it'll come out of the Senate.
Wait, did you just say Nancy Pelosi said those things or Lindsey Graham said those things?
Lindsey Graham said those things about Nancy Pelosi in the House of Representatives.
I'm sorry. I just wanted
the thing is they tell us like, okay, go back and figure out a way to at least make people think that it's going to be paid for, because do these bills ever really end up paying for themselves because they double dip in these areas and take money from here and take money from there? So I think it's just like it's a horse and pony show to make us think it's going to be paid for, but is it ever?
Well, considering the size of the national deficit and the fact that it continues to get higher and higher, and now we've reached a limit, meaning it's never been this high before, I'm going to say no to that question.
And you can never put the genie back in the bottle, and they can continue to say that they don't care about the CBO. I mean, each political party, they use this thing as a political football. Republicans and Democrats are all one big political party. They're all shameful. They only care about Wall Street. And when these CBO numbers come out, they always ignore them. It doesn't matter which party.
Yes.
Republicans ignored it when it was told that the tax cuts under Trump would not be paid for. They ignored it. And now they're pissed that the CBO is saying the same of the Build Back Better plan.
But they want Democrats to not ignore it.
Right.
Like, do as I say, not as I do.
Exactly. Well, here's what Lindsey Graham had to say about it. He thinks that this whole thing needs to go back to the House of Representatives, and they're all lying to us, is what Lindsey Graham, who, by the way, is like the king of liars, but he makes some good points here. Let's listen.
It will add $3 trillion to the deficit, but Senator, the White House says that's fake because if the programs are extended, they'll find ways to pay for them.
Well, give me a plan to pay for them then.
Can you turn that up just a little?
President Biden said the bill was fully paid for.
I can't really. I don't know how
Harris
to.
said it was paid for. Schumer, Pelosi, Secretary of Treasury Yellen. The CBO says it's not paid for. It's $3 trillion of deficit spending. It's not $1.75 trillion over 10 years. It's $4.9 trillion. What does this mean? The House should revote. The vote in the House was based on a fraud. This bill doesn't cost $1.75 trillion. It cost almost $5 trillion. It doesn't add $300 billion to the deficit. It adds $3 trillion. There is not a plan to pay for it. If there is, I missed it. So give it to me. Give it to the American people before we vote in the Senate. Show me how you pay for this bill. And you know why I wrote a letter to CBO? Because Joe Manchin came to me and he said, I think this bill is full of gimmicks, that these programs won't go away, Lindsay. And if you score them for 10 years, I think the bill will double. Well, it didn't double. It was almost 2.5 times. So I hope that this will be a showstopper for Build Back Better.
So he thinks that, I know, I apologize if that was a little quiet. I don't know, the clip was. But anyway, he's basically saying that the passing of the House on this was a fraud, that it should have never cleared the House. It was based on the fact that this was going to pay for itself. And now he should send it back to the House of Representatives because this thing is a total fraud. But the key part of that is at the end when he talks about Joe Manchin. So Joe Manchin specifically is the linchpin here. It's really going to come down to the two Joes. And, you know, whether or not this thing can actually pass is really going to be...
Someone says, I can't hear him and I don't want to because that clip was so low.
Yeah. Tanda,
I'm with you on that one, Ron.
Tanda says I unsubscribed. What is that?
No, not from. She was saying that there was another YouTuber that was saying there was another stimulus and that one of their people got like 800,000. I told her to unsubscribe from that channel.
Ridiculous. Oh. Yeah, there is no new stimulus yet. They're still bickering. And my point about this is that this thing could go back to the Senate or go back to the House, which is not going to. It's going to stay in the Senate and it's going to languish there. And the question is, can Chuck Schumer, this is the headline of Politico today, old Saint Chuck, can Chuck Schumer, who's under pressure right now to deliver this thing by Christmas, get it done? But the real linchpin, the whole key comes down to Joe Manchin right now. Joe Manchin is the key to this whole thing. And right now, if he's really concerned about these price tags, I don't think we're going to see, I really don't think we're going to see anything before Christmas.
Because the Democrats are saying that they will pass this by resolution, that they're going to sidestep the normal way and go around Republicans. But they cannot do that without every Democrat. And Joe Manchin is amongst their ranks. So if he goes rogue, he sinks the bill. And Elon Musk gets his way.
Yeah. And I think that this is a strong argument. I think this is a very strong argument for those of you that are always like, you know, hey, Bernie Sanders, let him do, like, Bernie Sanders could be doing the same kind of thing that Joe Manchin does and forcing votes on things that they wanted in these bills, but he doesn't. I mean, I don't like Joe Manchin, but at least he's standing up for, you know, what he believes he wants in it.
Yeah, so it's going to come down to Joe Biden and Joe Manchin again, this bickering back and forth. But you could have the Progressive Caucus, who have been incredibly quiet through this entire thing. If the Progressive Caucus actually thinks that this bill could help Americans, where are they? Where are they out there? Where are they campaigning? Where are they really driving home the point right now that Americans are hurting and you know, child tax credits would help and all of these other things? But again, it's just crony capitalism. All of this money going to go towards things that probably won't do much of anything.
Well, for instance, there is the media company tax credit, right? Meaning that the media could write off all of their salaries, all of their high salaries of people who are in the media. Like, these are the types of things that are like slid under the table under this guise of let's also extend the child tax credit. It doesn't really even include things that would change people's life consistent or significantly, such as education, parental paid leave, anything like that. So
we could go back to, I mean, if you're joining us late, you know, this is a story we featured in our news roundup this morning, which is these teachers in South Dakota who were invited to come to this hockey event and scrounge for dollar bills in front of the crowd in order to raise money for their school. I mean, ridiculous. Like, but we have teachers scrounging for dollar bills and we can't get education funding taken care of in the United States or funneled properly. It's ridiculous.
Yes.
Oh, just horrible.
It is.
All right.
Let's move on to the California gun battle, shall we? So the Supreme Court continues to hear the case against the Texas abortion law. Now, recall, this is the law that allows private citizens to litigate against other people who have participated in abortion in any way. Although specifically now a new Texas law says that you cannot sue the Attorney General over it. Is the Texas Attorney General, the government, or the governor?
The governor.
You cannot sue, and also municipal workers somehow. But yeah, you can sue an Uber driver who drove someone to an abortion. You can sue an abortion provider. You can sue the woman who actually had the abortion. Maybe you can even sue the baby. I don't know.
And by the way, this came up in the Supreme Court. Remember, this came up in the oral arguments, and Justice Roberts basically asked the question, or no, Justice Kavanaugh, I think, asked the question, like,
how do you prevent other states from using this against other laws that people don't like? That gave Gavin Newsom a great idea.
Yeah.
He said, that's exactly what I'm going to do. If we're going to allow private citizens to sue against things, I'm going to do that too, except in my state, I will allow private citizens to sue anyone who's using guns. Right. So someone has an illegal gun, someone has an illegal gun that hurt a child. This law would empower people to enforce the state's assault weapons ban. That means anybody, let's say you sold a weapon illegally because you work in Walmart, right? Then you could be sued. Then Walmart could be sued. And so this is really going to force the courts to take on not just the issue of guns or abortion, but whether or not you can empower private citizens to litigate against things that they are not otherwise harmed by.
All right, here's what he said in a tweet about this. He said, SCOTUS is letting private citizens in Texas sue to stop abortion. If that's the precedent, then we'll let Californians sue those who put ghost guns and assault weapons on our streets. If Texas can ban abortion and endanger lives, then California can ban deadly weapons of war and save lives. That's the official tweet. I mean, look, and the Supreme Court is still moving forward on this, and on whether or not this ban of abortions in the state will continue. So they haven't decided this yet.
So it's interesting because we're not exactly sure. Does that mean that if they let that one go, they have to let this go too?
Right.
Right. Because specifically, the case is about abortion and term of abortion. It's not about and also about whether or not you can sue for something if you were not harmed, right? And so the people who have claimed harm in the lawsuits that are filed say, this stranger lady who had an abortion, I'm so emotionally distressed about it. I didn't know her before. I didn't know she was pregnant. I knew nothing of her uterus, but the idea that she had an abortion is so upsetting to me that the courts should pay me. Right. And so,
like, this is America's next level of suing.
Absolutely, as a parent, right? As a person, as a citizen, as a energetic being that owns a human body, I do not like the idea of guns. I don't want to be killed by a gun. I don't want anybody in my family harmed by a gun. And I absolutely am regularly afraid of guns. So can I sue somebody who had an illegal assault weapon because that scares me?
Like, here, let me just paint the picture. Like, you're watching a news story, right? Let's say you live in California. You live in Northern California, and there's a shooting in Southern California.
Yes.
Basically, if you look at the abortion law in Texas and you look at the California law, think of it this way. You could be in Northern California seeing a shooting that happened in Los Angeles, and a little kid gets killed, right? Okay, you saw this on the news, and that so upsets you that you decide to sue the gun manufacturer that allowed.
Well, because how many people?
And then you could make money because you're so emotionally distraught. So now I know Gavin
Newsom. That's easy to prove, though. How many parents obsess about the idea of school shootings if you're an American person?
Well, I mean, just think about Sandy Hook. Like, just think about that situation. Like, if that law in Massachusetts, where was it? It was Massachusetts, right? Yeah. If that were in place there, I mean, think about they could, end up suing Smith & Wesson or whomever as a result of this. I mean, look, I think Gavin Newsom has to know that this is total political theater.
It will get litigated. Absolutely, it's true. I'm not saying, I'm not making a case for this as a law at all. I'm saying the burden of proof is easier to be upset by like gun violence in America than to be upset by someone else's abortion that you didn't know. I think the burden of proof for showing emotional distress would probably be easier in California than Texas.
Oh, I don't know.
What do you think? I mean,
that's definitely your opinion. I mean, someone could make the case in Texas that they're so upset that this person had an abortion and they didn't even know the person and it really bothered them, so they're suing the Uber driver that drove them.
Well, that's because, I mean, they consider that murder the same level as a gun shooting. You know what I mean? Some people do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So, like, I mean, you could get into the debate about apples and, well, what stage is a life and all of that. But at the heart of it, for me, is just the political football of this thing. And I think Gavin Newsom knows it. And I think he knows that this is ridiculous.
Yes.
Like, it's not going to stand. I think he's using it as political theater to show the ridiculousness of the Texas law, which, great. Like, I think, hey, you want to point out the ridiculousness through doing your own thing in the state? Great. And now the Supreme Court will have to deal with that.
Or do you want to flood your court system with civil litigation around gun violence, right?
Right. I mean, what's to stop people if they want to make a buck? And the trial lawyers will be absolutely thrilled about this because now they can be like, imagine the billboards. Instead of just, were you injured in a traffic accident? Now just imagine the billboards like, have you been upset by gun violence? Mm-hmm. Like, are you upset by an abortion?
Let's all sue Walmart.
Let's sue the Uber driver who drove the woman to get. Or sue Smith and Wesson. America is already so sue happy. It's the most litigious country in the world. Like, now, can you imagine this? It'd be like 100 times the level of litigation. Unbelievable.
Yes. So it's interesting, and it will be interesting to see what the court does with this. We don't expect a ruling anytime soon. But you can expect a litigation, some kind of, well, because it's the Department of Justice that is suing the state of Texas for this abortion law. So then will the Department of Justice under the Biden administration sue California for a law that they otherwise ideologically align with?
Or will like the NRA step up and sue, like it's not going to be the Department of
Justice.
And
would the NRA be able to reach the Supreme Court? Because the Supreme Court could decline to hear it, right? So it will, I don't know.
Could you imagine the person though that found this like loophole, like who was like sitting there one night with like a magnifying glass and a little thing of whiskey and a candle light, and they're like, I'm going to find the abortion loophole in this aha, eureka, I found it. Like runs down the street naked. I found how we can try to, ban abortions in this.
That would have been a lawyer doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
By the way, note to self, have Eve, Ava, and Miles, my 3 kids, go to law school.
Okay.
Make some good money right now because we're going to need them.
All right. Before we move on, we're going to tell you about our show sponsor over at Bean Bucks. Now, these are not black beans or pinto beans. We're going to talk about coffee beans, but I love all beans equally.
Yes,
I've never met a bean that I didn't like. That's for sure.
Do you like barbecued baked beans?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I do. And I like black-eyed peas, which are technically a bean, which is what we eat on New Year's.
But I'm going to go out on a limb and say coffee beans are better than any of those beans.
Coffee beans are great. And we like to consider ourselves in this house discriminate of coffee, and we like to choose only the best. And that's why we'd like to introduce you to Beanbox. Beanbox is a coffee subscription service that provides you regular delivery of some of the best beans in the world, as well as accoutrement. For instance, who likes to have a biscotti with their coffee?
Look at
your
that one
hand.
right in the middle there, the deluxe coffee and biscotti tasting box.
Yes. Who likes to have maybe some nice teas when guests come over or to start their day? Raise your hand. Yes, I like all of those things. Who likes to have chocolate with their coffee? You can get all of these things. Look at this coffee and chocolate tasting box. Now that's a pairing if I ever heard of one. These are curated by people who know what's what. These are not Folgers drinkers, folks. These are people who know the difference between nicely roasted fresh beans. They are roasted and shipped to you. And so when they get to your door, they are at peak freshness. You can choose any roast you like, dark, light, medium, espresso. And there's just an endless variety of things for you and also for gifts. So if you are still looking for a gift for people in your life, this is a great one. You can also get a gift subscription as well for someone in your life. So this is the gift that keeps on giving all year long. Order today and you can get 15% off of purchases or 40 or more. That's 15% off of purchases of $40 or more. I'm sorry, I didn't say the dollars part. You can get 15% off purchases of $40 or more. And this is also a subscription box is something that you don't have to wait for to show up to give it to somebody. You can either print out the confirmation or forward it. Very eco-friendly and last-minute gift-friendly, if you know what I mean. Gift the coffee fanatic or tea fanatic in your life an unforgettable coffee tasting experience that can last the whole year with Beanbox. We thank them so much for their support. Order today at beanbox.com/invest. That's beanbox.com/invest.
Awesome. Thanks, Beanbox. All right, let's talk about the Jazlane Maxwell trial. Of course, it resumes today, and there is a bombshell of reporting about what happened to Jeffrey Epstein, according to The Spectator, which sat down with Jazlane Maxwell's brother, and he dropped the bomb about what Jazlane thinks happened to Jeffrey Epstein. Now, I, for one, absolutely believe that Jeffrey Epstein was killed in jail. I think that he was murdered. I don't think that he committed suicide at all. You know, that's not what narcissists do. He's like the ultimate narcissist. That's not something that he was going to do.
Well, okay.
And I think there's a preponderance of evidence. The fact, you know, how do you have the cameras conveniently turn off at that time when he's dead? You know, when he dies in his cell. All eyes were on this guy, making sure. I mean, he was like the most high-profile criminal. Like, what dirt was he supposed to be releasing on the Clintons and others? There was all that news came out in the trial that he was going to be dropping dirt on that. So all of this was coming out, and then he winds up dead in his cell. Well, now, according to Ian Maxwell, Jazlane's brother, he says of all my siblings, Jazlane is the only one who happens to believe that he was murdered. And I would venture to believe that she may also think Epstein was murdered. I do happen to think my sister does think that he was killed. I content myself to rely on his suicide, but, you know, it doesn't really matter. The man is dead. So he believes that, Jazlane told him specifically that, in fact, yeah, Jeffrey Epstein was murdered. Another bit of news we're getting also from this is that today, starting, Jazlane Maxwell's lawyers plan to call 35 different witnesses to the stand, all in an effort really to discredit the accusers. I mean, that's their plan, is to go after the accusers. That's their top plan right now, is to say that these accusers, these witnesses who said that there was, you know, impropriety on the part of Jeffrey Epstein and Jazlane Maxwell, that in fact
they knew what they were up to, that they were complicit, or that they were not. I mean, it doesn't matter if you knew what you were up to if you were underage.
Right, exactly.
That's not a
right. If you were flown on an airplane and you were told you were going there to give a massage because you're, you know, in massage school, and then Jazlane and Jeffrey Epstein are asking you to do things that you didn't sign up for, but you're being told to just go along with it. We'll pay you well. Shut up. Don't tell anyone about this. And you're going to live at our ranch for the summer, or you're going to live on this island and keep quiet about who you see flying to this island. But they say prosecutors were complaining to the judge that the defense didn't tell them the order in which these witnesses would be called. They said that they have a tentative order of these 35 witnesses that they're going to bring forward. Just how dirty do you have to feel, though, to be a defense attorney, and you're going to bring people forth to try to discredit these young girls? You know,
they could also be character witnesses too, though. You know, I mean, her story is that she didn't know what was going on. So maybe there's someone who, I don't know, like a
friend.
I don't know. I'm trying to think around the narrative of this story, but rather than just whatever the media tells me to think. And so what could possibly be a character witness in defense of this story is like a temp agency, or maybe these girls worked through a madam. But I mean, it wouldn't matter if they're underage, right?
I mean, well, here's the thing. The 3 of the defense witnesses asked to testify under pseudonyms. They don't want their names out there at all. They're embarrassed about the whole thing.
I mean, think of Monica Lewinsky. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like her name is just, it's ruined in a lot of ways, and it's ruined her life and hurt her in a lot of ways. So I understand them wanting to be anonymous.
So they're anonymous. They're on the stand quietly, anonymously, testifying under a pseudonym, and now you're going to have these defense witnesses come in and try to discredit these pseudonymous witnesses.
I thought you said the defense witnesses would be anonymous.
I'm sorry. Yes. 3 of the defense. You're right. I'm sorry about that. 3 of the
not
defense
the plaintiffs.
witnesses.
The plaintiffs are not anonymous, as far as I know. We know.
I think
we know at least of a few of them.
Yeah. But anyway, Maxwell's 4 accusers were allowed to testify against her over the first 2 weeks of the trial with pseudonyms. So 4 of the plaintiffs were allowed to. And 3 of the defense witnesses are also asking to not have their name tied to this. Because that's the thing, your name will be forever tied to this in print. You know, if someone Google searches a person's name like that, it's going to forever be tied to Jazlane Maxwell if you're one of the people that has to testify against it. So, again, we don't know, but 35 different defense witnesses will come forward to have to defend Jazlane Maxwell. I think it's interesting though that she fully believes that Jeffrey Epstein was murdered in prison.
Yes,
I mean,
she probably is also afraid of the same fate, and which is why she's saying so to her family.
And that's why I'm sure, as she was in prison for, 17 months before the trial, that they had 24-hour surveillance on her, made sure that this was not going to happen the way it happened to Jeffrey Epstein. Like, they want her out there. But you have to ask yourself, like, who kills this person in a maximum security prison?
Oh, it's totally the Pelican Brief plot, right? Like,
but you got to think, you got terrorists there, right? Isn't El Chapo in there as well? I mean, in the same prison where Jeffrey Epstein is, they have also got terror. They had the World Trade Center bomber was kept in that prison. Like, this is the prison of prisons. Mm-hmm. And they managed to turn off the cameras and he winds up dead. Convenient.
Yes.
At that exact moment, just the cameras turn off.
And the 2 guards took the fall for it because they were just reading magazines or, there's a person dying right across from them where they're supposed to watch him, and they were distracted by, what did they say, newspapers or something like that? Like what?
Newspapers and magazines.
Or fell asleep and come on.
Right. And just convenient that the cameras weren't working for that 17 minutes or whatever. It's like
you had one job.
It's like the Nixon tapes. Why are these 17 minutes missing where you admit to the Watergate break? It's convenient that these 17 minutes are missing.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll keep our eye on this trial as that resumes today. Defense gets to bring their character witnesses forward, and we'll see. We'll have an update for you on the show as throughout the week.
All right, let's move on to what's trending before you get you out of here for the day. Chris Wallace is trending because the Fox News anchor of the Sunday show is leaving the network after 18 years to join CNN Plus. We do have sound from his goodbye.
It may sound corny, but I feel we've built a community here. There's a lot you can do on Sunday mornings. The fact you've chosen to spend this hour with us is something I cherish. But after 18 years, I have decided to leave Fox. I want to try something new, to go beyond politics to all the things I'm interested in. I'm ready for a new adventure, and I hope you'll check it out.
So this is interesting timing. He said yesterday was his last Sunday news show. I feel like that's interesting because CNN had a pretty bad week last week. Having 2 of their marquee anchors have a stain on their record. And then this must have been in the works for a while. I bet they paid him extra to be like, can you do it this week? We need some big news.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. He's not even going to CNN. He's going to CNN Plus.
Right, which is their streaming network.
Which no one's going to watch. I'm just going to say it right now.
Yeah.
It's like the morning show. Like that app that Corey wanted to launch.
Right. Yeah. Like they want to launch a streaming version of the morning show or of the, first of all, no one's watching CNN now on cable.
And also you can stream regular CNN.
Right. You can also already use the CNN app and stream it. Right. So now you're going to pay for extra CNN Plus in a CNN streaming app. Like, I get it, like, if ESPN, right, you want to get different games, so you pay for the ESPN Plus service, right?
Sure.
I get that you want Netflix so you can watch all these amazing shows and content.
Yeah.
Are you going to pay to get CNN Plus? What content are you possibly going to get? You're going to have documentaries.
Well, you're going to get Chris Wallace.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean,
how old is he, by the way? Let's ask. How old is Chris Wallace? Does it say in the article how old he is?
Can I just say
I'm sorry. I like Chris. I mean, I think he does a great job.
Yeah.
And I think he asks tough questions, and he's not. But
he's 74.
He's 74 years old. So how you're really going to attract a younger audience? Because Chris Wallace is going to do a documentary about baseball or something that he's interested in.
I don't know.
He likes to cook with his wife. He has a book on making soup.
He does?
With his wife. Like, it's a book on soup. So is he going to do like a cooking show? Like, are you going to pay to get a CNN Plus subscription so you can watch Chris Wallace make soup with his wife?
I don't know. I mean, if you think about the landscape of Sunday shows, there are people who become very addicted to that, and it's like, sort of your brand of coffee. And maybe there are people who will follow Chris Wallace. It may be smaller contingency than you think, because
but he's not
those
do
are
politics.
Traditional. How do you know that?
He just said it. He said, I want to do things that are outside of politics. And I know the things that he likes and enjoys is sports. Like, he's a huge national Washington Nationals fan. He loves baseball. He loves old cars, and he loves soup. I like Chris Wallace. He's a great political interviewer.
It's like I don't hear anything he says that's not political. Like, right. you don't mean that. Probably he can't, though.
Welcome to Chris Wallace's kitchen. This Sunday, we're making soup. My wife and I are going to make pumpkin soup.
With my special guest, Julia Childs.
Will you pay CNN Plus so you can watch it? Maybe you will. And I don't want to disparage it, but I just think it's like this. You think about what Megyn Kelly did, right? She left mainstream media. Mm-hmm. She started her own YouTube channel. She's got her Sirius XM show, but really it's the YouTube channel. I think that, and she's carving her own path there. And I don't know. I just think like this reliance on these old dinosaur media networks is...
Well, and maybe CNN is thinking, well, if we pull him over, we'll pull over some Fox viewers. But, how many Fox viewers are going to go to CNN?
Right.
It's not going to happen.
And, Fox News has not groomed another Chris Wallace either. They're pretty good at...
Brett Baer fills in,
Do you think that
He'll do it. I think Brett Baer will do Fox News Sunday. Yeah, I think that to me, either he or John Roberts.
Yeah.
John Roberts. But John's not young either. And well, neither is Brett, but Brett's younger than John Roberts. So I don't know. And I like Brett. I like John. I think, they're all good people. So good for them. But it's a lot of work to do that show. Like, if you're also doing the weekday show, so Brett Baer has his weekday show, then you're also going to prepare for like major interviews on a Sunday. You get 1 day a week off then. You get your Saturday off, so I don't know. And Chris only worked 1 day a week. I mean, he worked Sunday show, and then he would pop up and do political commentary on the network at other times. But anyway, I have a lot to say about it because I used to work there. So I'm just, anyway.
All right. Have you ever read an Anne Rice book?
No, actually.
Okay. I have. I've read one. Anne Rice is trending. I actually read the sequel to that because I have this rule that if I've seen the movie, I will not go back and read the book.
Was that one called Lestat or something like that? Or?
It was called Vittorio, the vampire, Vittorio. I don't remember, something Vittorio. Anyway, Anne Rice is famous because she wrote Interview with the Vampire, which was made into a famous movie with Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt. Many say it made Kirsten Dunst, that it sort of launched her career because she was a small child at the time. Anyhow, Anne Rice, she wrote dozens and dozens, maybe even hundreds of books, and she is sort of solely responsible for this sort of vampire romance genre that then gave birth, sadly, to Twilight. She died this weekend. She was 80 years old. So she is trending
that's
because
a picture of her, right?
This is actually Anne Rice. Yeah. I was not super into this genre. I really hate Twilight.
Vampire romance.
So I'm not going to, because I hate Twilight so much, I'm going to say that she is not like Twilight. So people online who are saying like, oh, she birthed this genre, which then like, I'm going to say no, she did something a little bit different. She at least was a very, very good writer. It was interesting. But
Grim in our chat says, I'm a huge Vampire Lestat fan. Book series was awesome.
Okay. Cool.
I've never read it.
Okay. Vicente Fernandez is trending because the Mexican icon died on Sunday at the age of 81. This is the announcement on his official Instagram.
Who is that?
Famous.
Vicente Fernandez. He's a Mexican musician. You guys don't know him?
No.
Okay.
I think Freddie Fender is really the only, like, the only one that. Like,
I mean, he's
I've
a
ever-
legend in
Yeah.
the space of So, anyhow, and Miss India is trending because she won the Miss Universe competition in Israel. Her name is Harnaz Sandhu. She is a Bollywood. Ball gown equals no COVID rules. I'm just gonna wear one all the time.
It's a body mask.
There you go.
Ma'am, I need to see your vaccine, sir. Oh no. Do you see what I'm wearing? I'm competing right now.
I'm competing.
I can't put on a mask. I have like an inch of foundation.
Do you see my tiara? I don't need to wear a mask.
Oh, look, you guys, masks and foundations don't mix. It's tough.
Sorry.
Are we starting again? No.
Sorry about that. No, the wrong button. There you go.
All right, that's all I got for you today. I will have more tomorrow.
All right.
And so will Clayton.
Yes, we should remind everyone to sign up for our free daily newsletter. Free. If you just go to morninginvest.com, it's totally free. It delivers to your inbox first thing in the morning. I have to say, my favorite story in our newsletter this morning was about how birds aren't real.
Yeah.
The story was great, and it's amazing how like people will fall for that kind of stuff. But it was a test to show just how misinformation and conspiracy theories can spread, and how like communities can pop up around the stupidest things, that birds aren't real.
Yeah, I like that one too. Pretty crazy.
So
Birds are real though.
Yeah, morninginvest.com is the place to go. Morninginvest.com to sign up. All right. Any super chats we need to get to before we wrap up?
Let me get over there, and I believe so. I saw a couple come in.
Grover Dog's been in puppy boot camp, and he's really learning to stay. That's very exciting.
And come here, and
Nice.
all of that stuff.
After 2 years.
Yeah, he's finally getting his training.
I got Pizza giving me high five now.
Oh,
Yeah.
you got to
she's
one up
doing
us
pretty-
on that, huh? What do you put in her Kong that you say that she was chewing on?
Ollie. It's a company called Ollie. It's like they pre-make her food based on her dietary needs.
Oh, you put
Yeah, so I
that
stuff
food
it with
inside.
I put a little bit of kibble in the bottom, and then I stuff hard or soft food on top of it. And then I freeze it overnight, and then she licks it out. It takes her probably
Delicious.
about half an hour to eat one.
Yeah, I like that. We should try that.
Natalie,
Okay.
check out the Sleeping Beauty trilogy. Anne Rice, very risque. You may blush.
Oh,
Maybe I will. I'm planning out my Christmas reading right now.
Good. If it
Walker.
trickles over into my Christmas experience, I'm all for it.
Oh, yeah.
I don't read a lot of romantic books. I should.
Yeah, because you end up reading like books about the Holocaust mostly. So
Yeah.
maybe your demeanor would change if you be like.
no more cold shoulder. Steve Walker, Autobots roll. We must destroy Omicron before the world be obliterated.
Omicron.
That should have been.
Autobots roll. We must destroy Omicron before the world be obliterated.
Autobots roll out.
Paul M. Do a segment on the WWE and the formula they use to fool its fan base. The similarities to Washington are astounding.
Oh man, the formula for I know. First of all, I have a very deep history with professional wrestling. I had a friend many years ago who was a professional wrestler, and I knew that world very intimately. Yeah. So people who believe in professional wrestling are known as marks, and internally, like among the professional wrestlers, they'd be like, that guy's a mark, meaning like he's somebody who actually believes that we're actually wrestling. So that's a mark. Here's one thing. If someone's walking up to you and you're two wrestlers and there's like a mark walking up to you and you guys are talking shop about like, hey, when we're in the ring, I'm going to do this thing and you're going to pinch me here and you're going to throw me here and you're going to do this. And they have the whole routine and they have the whole thing planned out ahead of time. And a mark walks up and you want to keep the mystery of it going. You'll just say kayfabe. Kayfabe means like ixnay on the talk fabe. So kayfabe, like, let's kayfabe that. Let's not talk about that. Let's not mention anything about it. Anyway, so I know a lot about this.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Jason Frank, it is not possible to test for different variants! !
I have wondered about that.
Yeah, that's a great mystery.
I have looked it up too because we had COVID in September. Apparently, there are genetic sequencing tests that can be done, but I believe it has to be through blood work. It can't just be like
I don't know how
swab.
they could test for this stuff through anything but blood.
Yeah, how are they able to say?
Blood testing everyone.
How are they able to say that 40% of all cases are now this Omicron variant? Like, how do they know? I mean,
right.
I don't know.
Those are the questions I've been asking all along, because it's like you have all these variants, but you don't see. They're not saying blood tests and all this other stuff. Like you go in, you get a swab, you don't have it, you go home, or you do, you go, you can do what's necessary. I don't know. Yeah. Amy Perkins, what steps would it take to get a new government? Give Washington an enema, I would say.
I've been thinking a lot about this over the past, actually this weekend, I've been thinking a lot about this. I mean, the United States just keeps adding layer upon layer of regulation and bureaucracy and laws and debt. I mean, how do you walk this back without cleaning, like having a revolution, starting a new government? I mean, and then you look at what some of these governments that have been able to do in recent years that have started a new government from scratch, Rwanda and some of the Balkan countries and Iceland, and
Iceland
they're thriving. Singapore. I mean, they're thriving. They're thriving business havens now with like 0% tax structures. They have faster internet than the United States does. Like Rwanda.
What I think the biggest deterrent of it is the fact that they keep us so divided left and right. And I think that's by design, because if you look at other countries, their people unite behind things more than we do, because we're so singular issue focused in this country.
Yeah. And also, when you keep people concentrated in just like big business and small business can't thrive, and you make it so that people are dependent on the government. It's like, they're consolidating their power in small ways. Every bill that passes in ways that we can never, like, it's a bait and switch, because there's always just like a crumb for us, and I think because people need that crumb, it prevents that, like, they accept so much bad behavior.
It's like those
I also have been thinking about like like what would it actually look like to start all over and have something we could be proud of? It seems like such a big ask.
And what would be the things you would put in place to prevent the same mess from happening again? Like, to me, one of the tops would be like cronyism. Cronyism, crony capitalism. Like, a piece in this book really struck me. Like, you had all these small businesses that were working towards different virus solutions and some of the chemicals that could be used in in fighting COVID. And instead of like helping out these small businesses, the government just decided under the Trump administration to funnel millions of dollars to Kodak, the photography company, basically to help aid them in their tradition away from photography towards making medical devices. Like, that's the government's choice, and they just get to pick a winner and loser like that. And also there was a cushy CEO package as part of this, like money from the government, and they just randomly chose Kodak when they could have chosen all of these small businesses and helped out all of these people. Instead, they chose this this large company and gave them millions of dollars, picking winners and losers. Same thing is true of Honeywell. Like, Honeywell's CEO was on the board of President Trump's Economic Council. So why was Honeywell chosen as the mask maker for N95 masks? Like, you're picking winners and losers, and it's all cronyism. This idea of you were supposed to, empty the swamp, drain the swamp, and you didn't. You actually added to the swamp. And so to me, that's one of the big problems.
There's an interview you should listen to that I would listen to yesterday that was Russell Brand and Tim Pool. And they were talking about how, it's like every 80 years, there's basically a reset. And then once the reset happens, it all starts it in motion again. And so it's like we are in the fourth phase of that, just before the collapse, because it's so out of hand that the only way we're going to fix this is if it collapses. Because there's no way we're going to be able to just go, like, we can't infiltrate the government. We can't do that, at this point.
No, and we've artificially kept it from collapsing. And I would recommend a book called The Fourth Turning.
That's exactly what I was referring to.
Yeah. And so this is what we're in right now. We're in this period, the fourth turning. And, what the cycles of history tell us about America's next rendezvous with destiny. And like, you can try to push it off. Like, you can try to artificially push it off, but it's coming and it's here and we are pushing it off, and we need to allow it to collapse. We need this like cleansing in order for us to rebuild. We never had that though after the last financial collapse.
And Ron Paul was back in 2012 was saying we need to let it collapse. We should have let those businesses fail. We should have let Bears and Stearns. We should have let that collapse and let it all happen. He said it would have been a very hard struggle, but we would have been at a point where we were starting again and would have been in a better situation, because the longer we put it off, the harder it's going to be to recover from.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
So we still got
it's such a big question. Like, I got to chew on it for a while, because I too have been fixated on the idea of some kind of change that is not within the current system, but I don't know exactly what it looks like. So I appreciate the question. We'll have to think on it collectively.
Yeah. Joshua Wilson, we're going to need another Boston Tea Party because there's too much taxation while the rich get our representation.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I mean, you have to think about the intentions behind the Tea Party, not the Boston Tea Party and the most recent Tea Party and Occupy Wall Street. There were good intentions there, but people just thought like, oh, those are crazy people who are.
It's interesting if you think about the Boston Tea Party. It's interesting because you think, it was the people just rising up and they don't want the taxation on their tea right in the Boston Harbor. But if you actually unpack it a little bit, it was the business owners of the tea companies that did it. Like, they did it to their own tea. So it wasn't the people. Even then, it was like big business complaining about the taxation. Like, it was big business driving this like narrative. Pushing the tea into the harbor and dressing up as Indians, pretending to be American, Native Americans, and doing it. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
You know what really makes me like? It drives me crazy to think that all these people that are hoarding our money. We keep bailing out these businesses. Then during the CARES Act, $5 trillion went to these big corporations and stuff, and they're hoarding this money in accounts and not putting it back into the economy, as if they think that it's just going to stay there. You know what I mean? Like, you have economists that are saying this is not sustainable, and yet these billionaires buy into it and hoard this money. Like, how can you think that when you've got so much information against you, against that being something to do?
Yeah.
I don't know. Doesn't make any sense to me.
Time Magazine named Elon Musk as Person of the Year.
Oh, okay.
So
that's awesome.
I'm glad it's not Biden. Like, they always do that. They just cheap out to pick the president.
Yeah.
I was hoping it wasn't going to be Fauci. That's who I thought. Like, they would give it to you. Grim, Natalie, thank you for being a great addition to the show.
Thank you for saying that. Thanks.
Robert Brown, Nat's got the hot teacher librarian look, sitting next to Professor Playboy Clayton there. Love you guys.
The hot librarian.
Hot for teacher look.
That's right. I'm going to go check out a book later. If you know what I mean.
This is like the baggiest thing. But thank you.
Do you want to see my Dewey Decimal?
No. Not. Save us all from that, honey. We definitely will get our channel marked for that. Keep it in the corral. Okay, we will see you here tomorrow. We do intend to be here all the week. Even though Clayton tried to take off Friday to watch Spider-Man, we are still going to show up.
I didn't. No. I said, we'll do the show. We got to be tight and we'll get out on time.
I know.
At first I said
Clayton and I will go watch Spider-Man and you can do the show.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Exactly.
You guys were coming to work and then we will do Spider-Man after. And everybody buy your tickets because Clayton may not be able to prevent himself from spoiling it for you.
No, I'm very good about no spoilers, but I can't wait. I'm super excited. I'm very excited.
This is like the big thing of the week.
Yes. All right, everyone. Don't forget to check out my other channel. If you go over to youtube.com/Clayton Morris. Hey, and that channel is growing like gangbusters. So thanks for all of your support. We're providing some great value over there, helping you invest, learning about the markets, learning about what's happening. I saw Shelly Cali Girl talking about how the markets are going crazy right now, waiting for the Fed discussion on Wednesday. Wednesday, it's Fed week in Washington. So yeah, there's a lot going on in the markets, a lot going on with your money. So come over to youtube.com/Clayton Morris. We've got some deep dives on the Web 3.0 and crypto right now, and a lot. So come on over there and subscribe, and we'll have a video up there later today for all of you as well. Woohoo. All right. And David, where can people find you?
I am over on youtube.com/Overland Geeks, and I do overlanding and minimalism, getting rid of all my stuff so that I can spend more time out on the road. So if you like that kind of thing, come and subscribe.
On the open road.
On the open road.
All right. And you can follow all of Natalie's book recommendations over on Goodreads. Are you a Goodreads subscriber? I hope you are.
It's just Natalie Morris on Goodreads.
Natalie Morris.
I need to make a thing for that.
There's no E on on Natalie. It's just an Natali.
Yes.
Goodreads.
All right, everyone.
Is Goodreads all one word?
Yes, it is.
Goodreads.
And then what is your URL?
It's goodreads.com/Natalie Morris. You know, I've read 47 books this year. I was just counting it, and Goodreads will give you your year in review. And I feel like I've done something with my year. That's it's an accomplish. I'm not going to.
27 of those books are those Mr. books, like Mr.
That's
Grumpy.
not true. That's not true. Not true at all. No. A lot of them are young adult stuff that I read with my children, but yeah.
Hey, still chapter book. I asked you because I said, should I add? You're like, yes, you absolutely should add those to your list, because I had all the Heroes and Trainings books that I read with Eve.
Yeah, those are chapter books. It takes you a few days to read them with the kids, and then if we do mark them on our Goodreads, then maybe somebody else gets to have that experience with their friends or kids. And
yeah, here's the ones I just added to my list. See, I'm reading The War on Small Business right now, but I just added my Heroes and Trainings to my list.
Did you finish Hyperion?
Yeah.
And the Great Balls of Fire? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
We did.
That's a really cute series, you guys, to read with little kids, 5 years old, between 4 and 6, because it introduces them to Greek mythology and the major characters, but it does it in a kid's type of way. So now if you ask my 5-year-old who's the god of the sea, she knows that it's Poseidon, based on these really fun little books. They're cute, and you can read them in 5 or 6 bedtimes. Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for putting up with us. Hope we brought you some value. If we did, hey, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. We'll be back here tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel, 9 a.m. Eastern time. We do this show every day. Peace out, everybody.